lovelies, welcome back to Lifestyle Chapter. If today is your first time, I welcome you to the family. Today the recipe I'm serving you is the peppered snail recipe, mostly made by Nigerians and eaten by Nigerians. And so a lot of friends asked me, since I did the peppered fish, they wanted to know how the pepper snail was also done. So here is my fresh snails. It was frozen and I thawed it, and I'm washing it thoroughly under running water. And you know how snails are, they are slimy, and so I'm cleaning up to make sure the sliminess is almost out of the snail. So I'm going to use some lime. That is lime that I'm going to squeeze. I'm squeezing some lime on it right now, and also I'll be adding some salt. You know, lime is acidic and it's going to cut out most of the sliminess of the snail out. So I have squeezed that on and I'm washing it with my hands to take out all the sliminess, and also it helps to give it a nice flavor. You wouldn't smell too much of the snail, the smell of the snail when you cook it. And also the salt is also going to help also cutting the sliminess of the snail. So that is what I'm working on right now. I'm trying to take the unwanted parts, unwanted substances around it. Those ones I don't like it, so I'll take all of them. But now I'm washing it for the first. I'm going to wash it for like 3 times. So I'm washing this and then I will throw out the water and then continue washing again. And then what I'll do next is to make sure any part that is not needed on the snail, I will gradually take them out. I'll take them out of the snail. So I have another bowl. This is my second wash I'm doing. I'm going to take all those parts that is not needed. So I'm doing it individually, one by one, to make sure all the snails are thoroughly worked on. So I'm taking the sliminess and also the part that looks like the intestines, which looks a little bit yucky. So I'm taking all those parts out to make sure the snail looks good and the taste will be super. It normally takes time when working on snails because it is a lot of work to do. But if you do it well, it makes your whatever you are using it to cook with very delicious. So I am done with washing the snails. This is the third one I'm going to do. It looks all clean right now, and I'm rinsing the bowl that I had it in the second time. So this is how the snails are looking. It is all done so well, and so I'm putting it in the bowl and then we continue with the process. So these are the ingredients for the pepper snails: the bell peppers, the onions, the thyme, and everything. I have my pot ready. I just put in my snails and I'm cutting some onions, which I'm going to use to cook the snails. You can cut it any style you want. I decided to just cut it in a freestyle. So any style that you want to cut your onions, it is up to you. You are good. So I will just add the onions on the snails in the pot. And also I'm going to add on my thyme, fresh thyme. You know, snails go very well with fresh thyme. And also I have all pepper seasoning that I'm adding to. One thing about this is you can add any season, and that I also added some cardamom, ground cardimom, and then coriander, ground coriander spices. So Yes, and with that, I also added some salt. You have to make sure you have enough salt in the snail so that it becomes tasty. You don't want your snail to not to be tasty when it's in the stew. So I put a lot of salt on it so that the snail itself becomes more tastier when it is done. So I put it on my stove top and I'm going to allow it to cook for about 15 minutes. I'll continue with the ingredients that I'm going to blend or process. So I have my onions that I'm cutting and it's going to go into the blender. And also my inspiration for this recipe is from Tsp. She's a Nigerian cook, and she also has a YouTube channel. And anytime I want to do any Nigerian recipe, I look at her and she's so good. She actually inspires me in so many Nigerian foods, and with this recipe you can add anything that you want, any vegetable that you want. So I added my ginger and garlic, which is also going to be in the processor, and then my yellow onion, but I used half of it and I left the other half. And to that I'm also going to add my red bell pepper, which I'm taking off the seeds. I don't need the seeds in this, so I'm making sure the seeds are out. And then I'll cut it into pieces and then add it in the blender as well. So everything goes inside the blender. I have 2 red peppers I'm using, so this is the second one that is also going to be cut and put inside the blender. So it's the same process of taking off the seeds before cutting it, and that applies to the rest of the bell peppers. We don't need any seeds of bell peppers in this recipe. And to that I have my habanero hot chili, 3 of them that I'm going to include in the blender as well. So I have that ready. And then I have my Anahiem chili peppers. This is another type of pepper. It looks like the bell pepper, but it's different from the bell pepper. I think it's from the same family. It is hot and spicy as well, so I decided to add that to it. You can, as I said, you can add any vegetable you want. If you're making any peppered snail or peppered fish or anything, you can. It all depends on the vegetables that you use. You can use a variety of vegetables, and it all comes out well. So I have all the vegetables ready. I'm adding just a little bit of water because it doesn't have any ingredients with water in there, so it will help the blade to move. So this is it. I have all the vegetables blended or processed. It is not smooth, and then I'll go ahead and work on the rest of the vegetables that I'm going to use to garnish the pepper snail. Is going to be in at the last part of it. So I have my red bell peppers and my I have my red onions and my yellow onions, which I'm opening them up because I'll be putting them at the end when I'm about to turn off the heat for the sauce. And also I have the orange bell pepper. I have half of that is what I'm using. I'll add it to the cut vegetables, and as you can see, I'm using the same style that I used to cut the onions for the bell peppers. It's going to be the same style. So I have my yellow bell peppers as well, which I'm cutting. And this is the green bell peppers. That is also going to be cut in the same style. So I have these vegetables ready, which is going to be put in the sauce at the end of it. And then I'm going back to check on my snails. It is still cooked, but it hasn't gotten to the stage where I want to take it off fire. So I'll still allow it to cook because I want all the flavors to be inside the snail. I don't want to throw anything away, so it will still be on fire. Now I have my pot ready where I have put in the blended or the processed ingredients, and I feel there is a little bit of water in it. I want it to dry up a little bit, so I'll allow it to cook for a while, and then I'll go back on the snail to check on the snail. Now it looks perfect. This is how I want it to be. So I now see that all the juices are in there, and I want all the flavors back into the snail. So that is how I want it to be. I'm going to turn the fire, and then I'll come back into the sauce. It looks like everything has vaporized, the water has vaporized. So I'll continue with the sauce. At this time, I can see I have more sauce than the snail, so I'm going to take some of the sauce and then save for another recipe. So I have a bowl with me that I'm taking some of the sauce out, and then I'll leave the rest, which I'll use for the snail recipe. I've added some extra olive oil into it, and I'm going to allow it to fry for about 5 minutes. To that, I'll incorporate the cooked snails into the sauce. And if you can remember, on the snails I had onions. I'll make sure I put all those onions, but I don't want the water. That's the stock of the snail, because I don't want my sauce to be too snaily, or I don't want the taste to be too much of a snail taste. So I wouldn't include the stock of it. I'll just take the onions on it, and then I will stir it nicely to make sure everything is combined, and then I will allow it to cook for about 5 minutes. To that, I will add the fresh thyme, which gives it extra flavor. It changes everything in this sauce. So I've added the leaves from the sprig of the thyme, and I'm adding in the fresh vegetables that I cut. That is the bell peppers, and then the onions, the colorful bell peppers, and then the onions, everything incorporated in there. I will stir it nicely, give it a gentle stir. Around this time, if you have any bouillons, you can add it to it. If not, you are good. And then I'll allow it to sit in for the next 2 minutes. And this is the case. I don't want the vegetables to be soft. I want it to be crunchy. So we are done. Lovelies, here is our pepper snail that I'm serving with rice and some fried plantains. Look how beautiful and attractive it's looking over there whilst it's going inside the plate. Look how it is looking beautiful and mouth-watering. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please subscribe and like the videos, and don't forget to share. And thank you for watching. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.